best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Joe, and hey Joe, it's Perch.
Hi, Perch.
Hi. It's the lamest intro. Well, welcome to some crap, folks. How's that one? We've been talking a lot, and of course, we want to get our own comics started. You're a successful writer and editor. I'm me. And, one of the things that seems really popular in comics right now is the entire deconstructed bit. And got to thinking, this is the key to a successful run in comics, right?
It has to be.
I mean, it's the only thing that explains why some of these people's careers continue, is that they take something really nice and they just destroy it for everyone else to see. And so I was thinking, I'll bet you do too. We've got some deconstructed pitches for all of you today.
Oh yeah, no, it's important because we want comics to be taken seriously, and the only way a comic can be taken seriously is if you take a comic aimed at children and warp it and twist it into some sort of horrible existential nightmare.
That's right. And with the deconstruction, you also have to reveal some secret, unknown kind of retconny twist that causes you to have to rethink and reevaluate everything you knew about those characters.
Absolutely. No, it's really important. You have to. You
have to. So I have some ideas. You have some ideas. Should I throw one to you right now?
Throw it at me. I can do this.
Okay. So I think we're both fans of the Fantastic Four. We've been fans for a long time. I like that book.
Sure. They're good people there.
That's right. That's key here. They're good people. But what if they were not good people? So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so one of the things that we've always known about the Fantastic Four, we see that Reed Richards is kind of obsessed with science and his job. He's often forgetting stuff. We have Sue, who stands loyally by him, even though he exasperates her. And there's been this romantic interest in Namor that Sue's never really gone for it. Namor definitely wants her, but she's never really gone that. She stayed by Reed. Even when they've had horrible problems, she stayed with him this entire time. That's what we know, right?
As far as we know on the page, yes.
Yes. So the deconstructed pitch is that's not realistic. Honestly, why would Sue stay with this kind of nerdy, geeky science guy who's super smart, can build anything, when there's this dude who hangs out in just a Speedo all the time who's constantly saying he wants to fuck her? I think she would go for that at some point. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. We saw that DeFalco era costume. We know.
Oh, absolutely. So here's the twist. She's actually left Reed several times. She's gotten fed up and she's headed, toward Namor. But as it turns out, Reed, using his kind of super mad science genius stuff, invents a kind of a mind wipe to keep her enslaved to him. And she eventually kind of gets free and breaks free and starts to go back to Namor again. But Reed then pulls her back in with his machinery. And this is what we learn about the Fantastic Four, that basically this entire relationship is a lie, and that Reed has been manipulating, brainwashing her this entire time to stay with him. All that kind of cheerfulness, that's just a result of brain damage from the science that he's used to kind of enslave his family. It's not the first family, it's the enslaved family. Ben as well. I mean, this is already established that Reed probably could have cured him a long time ago, but he keeps him tethered to him by not fixing his condition. And Johnny, he just kind of, manipulates with promises of riches and other things. But basically, this pitch is that the Fantastic Four is an absolutely corroded, perverse, just dysfunctional group of people, all helmed by Reed and his machinations.
That sounds it sounds very, I don't know, it feels like, is Reed awful enough in this?
Well, I mean, we can take it further where other heroes at times have kind of figured out that things are going on, and Reed mind wipes them as well. He's kind of been manipulating the entire Marvel universe. You could even throw in some very hypocritical thing where every now and then Reed's gotten horny and like tried to fuck the Wasp, and is able to enslave her as well, but then make her forget. So we really reveal that Reed is the most rotten, awful person in the entire family.
Okay, so we're really going. This is like Identity Crisis with like the Fantastic Four in a way.
In a way, yes. I mean, you can throw some
Yeah.
rape in there. Why not? That's everybody likes.
Yeah, I mean that seems like that has to be on the table if you're going to go this far.
It does, and I think everybody wants to take down a smart, rich white guy. So I mean, why not? Why not just go full on Reed as a monster? Now they did some of this in the Ultimate Universe, but he was more kind of mustache twirling. I'm going to take over the world. In this one, it's more sinister. He's actually so insecure that he doesn't allow any individual freedom with his family and anything. And the goal here is to just absolutely destroy any sense that the Fantastic Four is a family good team book, and instead it's just a rotten comic.
No, I think that'll reinvigorate the base there, because the problem now is Fantastic Four started moving a bit more in the fun action adventure sort of direction. So this would be a nice way to reset that.
Yeah, well, we got to get back to relationships that aren't real, people being awful monsters, and just hatred, which is really the core of what I think Fantastic Four is all about.
Yeah, I mean, really, you could lean into it. Reed should be gaslighting everyone. Yeah, I was going to say he should do tests and confirm to Ben Grimm that he isn't remotely human anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, anything he can, I mean, he should also start to kind of prey on Sue a little bit, be more cruel to her, because he knows she can't actually, she has no free will. So he can start to do this stuff. Maybe in front of friends, he gets her to apologize to Reed for not being enough of a doting wife. Just really kind of twisted, manipulation of the family.
Yeah, and they can forget that they had a daughter, because that seems to happen on and off.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's lots of things you can ultimately do with the children. You can, there's many. I mean, hell, you could even have a storyline where Franklin somehow, or Valeria, figures out. Maybe Valeria is an even better example. She figures out that Reed's doing this, but Reed's one step ahead of her, and he manages to basically kind of remove her ability to think properly, kind of put her back into a mind of a tiny child, like a 2 or 3 year old. Except she maybe she remembers everything, but she can't articulate it, so she's just sitting there with like no motor functions, and it's just awful.
He should do that to like a lot of people.
Yeah, why not? That would be perfect. I think that's how you get more realism, and I think a lot of people would go for that. I mean, nobody wants a family in comics anyway.
Yeah, no, it's true. People with families don't read comics.
So, how about you? What do you got? What kind of stuff have you been thinking about?
So, one of the things that I was thinking about was we focus so much on Batman and like Alfred being like the father figure and all of that, and it's like he was his real parents in a way when he was like growing up.
Yeah.
But what if we flip it? Like, let's flip that story a little bit and make it more about what about Alfred feeling like he's just been a failure as a father this whole time?
Oh, nice. Okay, so a lot of depression there.
Yeah, so like Alfred is really just miserable. Has been working really hard to try to like he's constantly talking to Bruce about like, why don't you, maybe you could find a woman, maybe this will be the right woman for you, maybe you can settle down and get away from this life, and it never works, which just spirals Alfred over the years into just becoming just this miserable nightmare. So that way we kind of retcon it, so we set it up that Alfred actually allowed Bane to come in and murder him because he couldn't stand living this life anymore.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. What if he? So, a great way to do it. I mean, since he is dead now, with
Yeah.
the Bane killing, the great way to kind of twist the knife for both Bruce and all the readers is Bruce stumbles across like tapes or recordings where Alfred is just depressed and suicidal and hates himself and everything. And it's Bruce is just trying to bond with his father figure, but instead we get. I mean, this is like a 12-issue story where we just get more and more and more about how awfully sad and tortured this guy was.
Absolutely. And now here's where we kick it up a notch. After that happens, Alfred wakes up, but it's years later, and not as a person, but his mind had been saved and was put into an artificial intelligence that awakens, something like 50 or so years later. Batman's dead. Gotham as he knows it is all gone. And he's just awakes in this like rundown Batcave. And he uses this opportunity. Like now he's just this like insane, going crazier AI in this Batcave that is able to hack in and reawaken Bruce at like age 8 in another AI. And now it's Alfred who's not real, trying to help Bruce that's not real grow up to be the real, not real Bruce he always wanted him to be.
Oh dear. That sounds awful.
Right? Like this is the exact thing that people want.
It is, and now I'm thinking that you get Tom King to come back and do this.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, he could use the same storytelling method that he's using for Batcat right now, where you get some parts of this in the current, some parts in the past, some parts in the future. That would stretch this entire thing out to like 24 issues. I mean, you could go a couple of years with this, and it's just torture at every timeline.
Yeah, and you do things where it's like every issue is like like Alfred bringing Bruce to school. That's a whole issue. Then obviously it ends with Bruce not only making enemies, being bullied, teachers hating him, and him being forced to come back and being homeschooled while Alfred seeps just into a deeper and deeper depression. Then we can skip ahead to, like prom, where someone asks Bruce out on like a date, but it's a joke. And it's just, and you just watch as they both fail each other for decades.
Perfect. I absolutely, I mean, this is the real Batman year one. This is Alfred year one.
Yeah. And the real sad thing about it is at the end, the Bruce AI, there was a fault in the system that Alfred didn't detect, so it dies before Alfred does. So he gets to watch his failure twice while he's just stuck living until his battery runs out.
Yeah, just this slow, torturous, robotic, artificial death.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. This sounds like the kind of thing comics needs.
Absolutely. And I called it Alfred After.
No, that's wonderful. I do. I mean, imagine you get a lot of just comic panels with Alfred kind of looking down, sad, wrinkles on his forehead, maybe looking at his hands as if to see imaginary blood there.
Yeah. No, for sure. And one of the sadder things too is like crime, like Gotham is becoming a better city, but Alfred and Bruce are getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
So it's like you get to see that like parallel story going on, and it's it's really something that I think people can aspire to.
I agree. I like it. Kind of in those veins, in terms of time passing, I was thinking, what we learned like last year, this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ronin was really popular, sold a lot of comics. They couldn't get them out in time, but it did remind everyone that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there is still an interest in those characters, but they are getting kind of old. I mean, people don't want adventures anymore. They don't want kind of these just freewheeling ninjas in the sewers of New York eating pizza. They want it to evolve. So I was thinking you take a big leap forward with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into what I would call the millennial disillusioned barista turtles, because they're older now.
Yeah.
And they kind of give up the ninja part. And kind of, the mutant is that sounds vaguely bigoted somehow. And they're kind of in the equivalent of their 20s, maybe early 30s, and you give them real world problems. So instead of fighting Splinter and having these various challenges go on, they're fighting things like one of them kind of wants to have a baby before it's too late, or at least father a child, but knows that their weird turtle penis would never actually work with a human, so they're just depressed.
Yeah.
And another one kind of maybe gets a job in a corporation, but just has no upward mobility there, and it's just kind of stuck, in this place where it's not good, but they're not going to get fired. They're just unhappy. And no one wants to like go to Hollywood and be a producer, but again, no skills. And so the guy's always kind of trying to set things up, but nothing ever works. And another one's just questioning their identity. Why are they alive in the first place? Don't understand. So it's just the comic really is, there's no action. It's based around the turtles meeting up and having craft coffee and discussing their problems and trying to help each other out, but they all kind of hate each other as well. Splinter is long dead at this point. He's so they can kind of remember him. They also hate him a little bit because he's kind of an abusive dad in a way, surrogate father. Yeah. So they're just kind of miserable with their life, and they're trying to kind of keep each other together. And the question for the reader is, are the four of them together actually making them all worse or better? But they're locked into this support structure that is really not helping anyone.
Sure. Now, I feel like only one of them probably visits Splinter's grave.
Yes, only one. Yeah, one,
and gives everyone else shit for not doing that.
Yes, but the others should also kind of make fun of him as the one who does. I mean, that's Leonardo who visits the grave, but the rest of them won't, and just kind of hate him. So that's another dynamic here of like, why do you hate our father? And no, you should honor the person who brought us up. I mean, that's just one more way that these people are just not friends anymore, but they've never moved on. They're just miserable is the key here.
Now, I think one of the important things about a story like this is at least one of the villains has to have mellowed out and become friends with them, because that's what everyone loves in these stories.
I think so.
So any side villain, like not like a Shredder or something, but like a I don't know, like a Wingnut or something like that, or a Rat King who's kind of like, I'm old and mellow now, and I don't have friends.
I think you have one of the turtles, like Raphael, is actually in a relationship with Rat King.
Okay,
but Raphael's kind of trying to keep it secret from the others, and Rat King's like, I've changed. I run a boutique kitchen equipment store now, and I'd really like to meet your friends. But it's like, no, they won't understand both that I'm in a relationship with you, and they also won't understand because you're a villain, and I kind of hate myself that I'm dating a villain, but I love you anyway. And it's like, so you have that dynamic going on as well. Each one of these turtles just has kind of a backstory that's awful. And I thought, in addition, you've got April O'Neil. And April O'Neil has gotten successful. Like, her career has taken off, and she's completely ghosted the turtles at this point, because she's moved way past them. So they see her every now and then on TV, and they're like, we helped her when she was not that popular, and now she's. I mean, you could have her be a top reporter. You could have her be a senator or something. I mean, who knows? The key is that she won't have anything to do with them. But every now and then one of them will like drunk call her, and then she has to put a restraining order on him. It's just that kind of misery.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And she should have like a really nice, well put together life that really like is a good foil to the turtles. Like she's great. They're doing terribly. Maybe you even do something where Donatello's suspicious of Wrath and like notices he's got like, you know, some weird hair and like on like his gel or something, analyzes it, finds out it's rat hair, starts figuring it out. Like, you know, that there's a lot here. One of them could reactivate like Metalhead and use it as like a sex robot.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some of that going on. I think one of them needs to get cancer, like uncurable cancer at one point.
Yeah.
But doesn't want to say to the others, but getting kind of sickly. And, you know, he kind of on one hand would like the other turtles to come to the chemotherapy sessions, but on the other hand doesn't reveal the weakness. And so he's just kind of slowly dying as well. And maybe you have this big snap moment where the turtles are kind of talking about their problems that are just kind of petty, nonsensical problems. And then, you know, the turtle with cancer snaps and it's like, I'm dying, you bastards. And kind of walks out of the coffee shop and like, oh, what's his problem? So that's what I'm thinking. I think almost all of the comic could just revolve around this sort of shit, not an upscale coffee shop, but kind of a shitty one.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, you know, how like, you know, parents might get their kids a dog that can kind of like grow up with them. Like this is a nice sort of way to do like the opposite. So like the kids that grew up can slowly die with the turtles. Exactly.
Yeah. The point here is that a lot of the readers are miserable and so are the turtles. So they kind of belong together as they coast toward death.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Thank you. What else you got?
Well, I was thinking, I have this pitch for Captain America called Captain America, Bled, Blight, and Coup.
Oh, no.
And basically, everyone who's taken over Captain America the past, like, God, about like a decade at this point, has had Cap, like, question the American dream and where he stands with, like, America. So we got to move past that. So now Captain America is questioning democracy as an institution.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the logical next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, after all of the, you know, like taken right from the headlines, all the slow moving coup and all of that, like Cap decides it's time to do a fast-acting coup and to overthrow the government.
Nice. Okay, it's the only solution,
you know?
just for patriotism, yeah.
Absolutely, because as a true patriot, he knows, as I believe, was it Thomas Jefferson who said you have to kind of like burn down the government every like generation and every like 30 years, you got to like clear it all out.
That sounds right.
So,
I'm sure.
Yeah. So really, he's trying to honor the founding fathers by taking out the core of our government.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
and
do the other Avengers, the other heroes get in his way, or is he still able to be a leader and kind of bring them along on his journey?
You know, despite the fact that this is a radical, insane position to take, it's only logical that there would be like a line drawn and some would go with him and some wouldn't, even though you would think all of them should be against him and want to stop him, but that's just not how it works.
Well, I think you could do things like introduce that as part of Cap's new plan, he wants to forgive student debt. And so that like brings Jessica Jones, who has a bunch of student debt. And so she's on his side. But then it doesn't bring somebody like Matt Murdock, who's paid off his student debt. And it's like, what the hell? That's not fair. And so that's how you get the split.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then, you know, we could personify that by creating two new women villains, Sally and May, that he has to fight.
I like I like that. Okay.
You
but
know,
at some point we gotta reveal that Sally and May are actually the Red Skull and Sin, right?
Well, they're the Red Skull and Sin, and they're working with a giant robot, let's call it Naviat for for these purposes, which turns out to, also be the Red Skull. So
Okay, good. I mean, everything has to be the Red Skull at the end.
absolutely, that's the only way you move a Cap comic.
I was thinking at one point, this is a different idea, but also with Cap. There's a lot you can do with Cap here. We really haven't plumbed the depths of depressed, questioning, disillusioned Cap. But what if you revealed at one point the Cap was the Red Skull, and like he noticed like a scratch on his face, he starts picking at it, and he just takes his face off, and he is the Red Skull. And then he realizes his entire life has been kind of a split personality, but he's the same thing. That's actually a dumb idea. Let's go back to yours.
No, that's good. But what if you do this and then you have like the Flag Smashers show up and they're kind of like, Cap, buddy, we're like nihilists, but like you're going pretty far here, and because you need to show that Cap has gone that far.
And what does Cap just murder all of them, or he just lets them go?
He just kind of overthrows the government and will stop anyone. He's not going to kill people, but what he's doing and how he's punching and throwing his shield, he's very clearly murdering a lot of people, but we're not really going to acknowledge that or address it in any real serious way.
He just kind of when he throws the shield really far and it bounces off of a metal tank and like knocks a panel of it off and then also slices into a Hydra's guy's head, you just assume that guy's taking a nap.
Yeah, absolutely. They're taking a nap. They're taking a 5.
Yeah, taking a 5. Taking a 5, as they say.
Exactly. I
thought you could do something with Captain America at one point where he's trying to figure out what's going on with the government, and he comes to realize that the only people in the government he can trust are Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney. And so you get Captain America, agent of Romney and Manchin. And then, but nobody likes Cap now. Like both the Republicans and Democrats now hate him because he's like trying to go into adventures with Mitt Romney and stuff. Maybe Romney gives him some underwear. I don't know. But
I think you then make the new Cap headquarters Joe Manchin's boat.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
you could get lots of scenes of them hanging out. Diamondback's on there as well. He's kind of reconnected with her, and they're
just kind of that'd be great.
I fight for the middle, says Cap, but everybody's like, no, you don't, you jackass. And then that becomes just a conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's time that, we actually have Cap stand for something, and that thing being the complete dismantling of our government.
Yeah, I like that. So your idea is great. I like the idea that Captain America is really going to take a stand. He's going to boldly lead the country into a form of anti-government anarchy.
Yeah.
That's what a true patriot would do.
Absolutely.
And also it taps into something that people have been asking for, which is, can you just give me more modern day politics in comics?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I think people, they want to see themselves in the comics. And a lot of the people that want to see themselves in the comics are anti-government nihilists bent on the destruction of order in daily society.
And you can't argue with that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, torn from
those get the most retweets, so...
Which why won't enough people realize that the more you said, the topics that get the most retweets are obviously what you should make your comics about.
Absolutely. They'll figure it out. I think this comic will help make that clear.
Yeah, it lights the way, which is what Captain America is supposed to do. He is the sentinel of liberty, and this comic is the sentinel of how you should do comics.
Yeah, and he's also going to literally light the way by lighting everything on fire on his way to the Capitol before he burns it down.
Is he carrying a tiki torch in this one, or that's on the nose?
That's a little too on the nose. We want to rip things, rip stories from the headlines. We want Cap to take on, the kind of issues that are relevant to us today, but like let's not go that far.
Let's not joke with it, right? Yeah.
No, I mean, he should be, just using like a flamethrower or something like that.
Flamethrower gets a job done a hell of a lot faster than a tiki torch, and Cap is efficient.
He is very efficient.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of politics, and you reminded me of this earlier, and kind of just came to me. So, what's one thing we know about Wally West?
He's a Republican.
That's right. That's right. He is a Republican in comics, and they've never retconned that away, right?
I don't believe they have.
I think he's still running around a Republican, literally. So this is, one thing that I think, if you think about Wally, you think about a character that really hasn't had a lot of a big change to him. He's generally been left alone. He's kind of this happy-go-lucky speedster, happens to be a Republican, but they don't really do anything with Wally. He just is kind of there, untouched, fan favorite character. And
Sure.
maybe it's time to screw with Wally some, because nobody's really messed with Wally. So what if it is about time? So what if you pick up the thread that yes, he's a Republican, and go ahead and go full MAGA with Wally. But it's not the kind of politics that some of the listeners to this channel may be thinking about. He's trying to convince his teammates that they should vote for Trump. And so you get a Wally West comic where he's just kind of running around. He's campaigning for Trump. He's standing with Trump, but he's also trying to convince the Titans and the Justice League, like, this is the guy. This is a guy. And that is kind of, he becomes the spokesman. Maybe even do a bit where Wally, Trump is going to maybe pick Wally to be the running mate. But you just go full, like, he's already got the red suit. So you just like paint MAGA on there and they're done, right? It sells, it really describes itself.
Yeah, no, I mean, they should make the Flash fast again.
Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly the tagline we would do. Make the Flash fast again. And people have been begging to have more Trump commentary in comics.
Yeah, no, it's it makes perfect sense. It tackles a lot of rather, it brings a lot of the things where everyone's thinking to like the surface and allows opportunity for a healthy discussion debate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nobody's going to look at this and flame out about it. They're going to look at it as a healthy opportunity for political discourse. And I think you could do some interesting things, like Wally could like head down to the border and like just build the wall with super speed, and you could deport people before they even know what's going on. You could just have all those elements in the comic. And the best part about this is you're not retconning anything. I mean, Wally is a Republican. He's been written that way. So
yeah,
cool. It's just leaning into what already exists. You're not wrecking anything, but you are able to take Wally on this journey that could be controversial, could be a real change for the character. But people have been begging for that to happen to Wally. They're tired of this vanilla, nothing bad ever happens to him.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep this up, like, nobody dies, and it makes for a very boring comic.
Exactly. So I say let's go full MAGA Wally and see what happens there. I like that make the Flash fast again. That's one. Yeah. And then you got, anyway, there's so many different directions you can go with it, but I'll shut up about that. So what else do you got?
So I think it's like, let's be honest with ourselves here. Now, when you think of, these comic superheroes, they're in tights, they're flying around, they're doing these things. None of that's believable.
No.
You can't relate to that. No one can relate to having the kind of responsibility that, Superman has, or the money that Bruce and, Tony have, or the, dedication to ideology that Cap has. So when you're imagining this sort of stuff, I think it's very difficult to get new readers in because they're immediately going to be like, this doesn't make any sense. People don't fly. People don't have superpowers. And if they did, wouldn't they be, solving all the world's problems? So I think it's time we kind of ground these characters a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it's way time. Nobody's ever done
And
that.
yeah, and the best way to ground a lot of these characters is to make it very clear that everything's a dream.
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
So, in order to make this reflective of the world we live in now, it's going to be a group of friends, and they're all named after the Justice League characters. So you got like Diana Prince and Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, all these guys, John Johns, they're all hanging out, and they're just enjoying, out there. Maybe they're dining somewhere, maybe they're at the mall, but they're all just like teenagers having fun, and then they're all gunned down by a mass shooter.
Well, perfect. Yep. Topical.
And here's what happens. They're all now on life support in comas in the hospital together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in their imaginations, they're imagining if they had the superpowers to stop the mass shooter. So now teenage Diana Prince is imagining herself as this quote unquote Wonder Woman who has these, bracers that can stop the bullets. And then Clark Kent is imagining if, he had, super strength and could reflect the bullets away and like all that kind of stuff. So,
wow.
And they're all imagining each other in their dreams here in this coma state because, they all know each other and they're all connected. But in each person's mind, it's a little different because you don't share minds. That doesn't make any sense, not even in a comic book.
Right.
And because they're all in different people's minds and in each mind it's slightly different, that's the multiverse.
Oh, hold on. Head exploding here. All right.
Yeah.
This is a huge idea. This actually is what we have to end on. I'll save my. We got to go deeper into this. I'll save my whole Barbara Gordon was actually abused by her father for another time.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, but okay, so let's kind of let me unpack this. So you basically set up and this comic kind of sets up with these normal people in the hospital.
Yeah,
they're on life support. They're dying. Now are the characters? Is there any hope of the characters, the people in the hospital recovering, or is this a slow death situation?
I think the way this works saddest is maybe one of them lives and has to go on with the memory of all of their friends that got killed.
Yeah, that would be saddest. I do think you have an interesting kind of metaphor in a weird way for the comic industry that they're all just slowly dying there, but that
yeah,
I'll let somebody.
And that maybe one of them lives, but who knows?
Yeah, maybe the Japanese one.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so these guys are all slowly dying. They're all having their dreams. It's similar, but like I said, slightly different. And I mean, God, it would be a huge comic book, but if you had 52 of them in the hospital, you could do little things. You don't have to see all 52, but maybe the nurse or the doctor says, we've got 52 patients here. And that's how it introduces to the reader that, actually everything we've been reading, everything that's gone on with these comics to date has all just been the dream of a delirious patient at the end of their life.
Yeah, and obviously the Joker is the hospital clown that comes to entertain the kids.
Oh, sure.
And how they're not quite aware of what's going on, but is like laughter like seeps into their like subconsciousness and creates this like Joker character that they all have to deal with.
Yeah, and it becomes a metaphor for how awful their world. I mean, you could do a lot of things. I mean, the hospital director could be Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah.
And this bald guy shows up and they don't really like him. I mean, you could kind of go through all the things. I mean, do I even need to go into what Deathstroke is? I mean, that doesn't even have to be a person. That's just something that's being talked about in the halls.
Oh, or it could be like that version of him in like Lois and Clark, where he just like electrocutes people and they have a stroke and die.
Yes. And what do you call this? Do you have a name for it? Because I think there's a lot of really good names.
No, there are a lot of really good names, so I'm open to it because there's so many, ways to go about this. I mean, you could really lean into the idea of this being like, the Justice League Super Friends. You could do something like you could, if you could actually, do they own? Does Warner have the rights to Friends? Can we just call it Friends?
Sure, you could. You got to work the word crisis in there. I mean, this is the final crisis that's already been taken, but you could call it, Friends Crisis.
Yeah, it's certainly a crisis that's worth reflecting on, how we go about our lives. And
could you call it Friends? Let's see, Friends Crisis HBO Max Plus.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Make it very clear. Cover all your branding.
Yeah. Get Game of Thrones in there somehow. Wow. So you've got Diana Prince, and yeah. So all the dreams are kind of vaguely based off of their desperate attempt to kind of escape the situation that's going to kill them, or that did kill them, and they're just feeling it out. So what do you do? Like, you got Diana Prince again deflecting bullets from the school shooting. Maybe you have. I don't know what you do with what do you have your Clark Kent character do?
Well, I think, like, Clark would probably melt the bullets or something like that because he doesn't want them, like, reflecting off things. But each of the villains are a personified version of, like, the shooter in their minds takes on that form. So yeah. So we could do something where, for Bruce, it is Joe Chill, and maybe his parents did get killed in an alley when he was younger by a shooter, and it's that guy is there doing the shooting. Then for, Diana, maybe it's Silver Swan, and, maybe Diana Prince had a falling out with another friend, and that friend is there as Silver Swan, who is, the personification of that. You could have, Marcia Manhunter is just being shot at by, I don't know, a brush fire.
Yeah, sure. Just the fire is just shooting bullets out somehow.
Yeah, why not? Who cares? But you could have that kind of stuff going on. So it's different for everyone.
Something that touches on their superhero life, like Superman. Clark Kent tries to escape maybe by jumping out of a window and kind of falls to the earth. And that's what he's remembering that moment as kind of his escaping an exploding classroom onto the guy. I don't know. You could mix.
Yeah, it could be something like that. And then, he's in the coma, you instantly faded to him flying and, saving everyone, like, something like that.
Yeah. And then the comics, if you were to do this, because this is the multiverse, you say everybody's remembering things differently. If this is like a 12-issue event series, then the characters are all slowly dying and the multiverse is collapsing. And that becomes the backdrop to this whole story. You're seeing the death of the DC universe, basically.
Yeah, which is why now you kind of set up the ending here for me, whereas actually there's something, probably what would be saddest is all of them end up dying except Clark, but he wakes up and he still thinks that he is this like Superman, and he jumps out the window and falls to his death from the hospital.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's
and
I think you could do this in kind of the more artsy way where he's falling and you see like you're kind of zooming in on his face as he's plummeting down toward the ground. You see a tiny tear kind of drip out of the eye and float away as he's falling, and you got the little narration captions that talk some kind of poem about falling to earth.
What you can do, actually, here's what you do. It's 3 wide cinematic panels with the like coming closer and closer and closer. And it's a bird, it's a plane, it's ... You turn the page, black.
The end.
That's it.
That is chef's kiss.
Thank you.
Yeah, that it doesn't get any better than that. What astounds me a little bit is that we've seen DC Comics pitching the characters in the Dark Ages, and we've had them as vampires and Russian agents and all kinds of things. I'm slightly shocked nobody's done this.
I can't believe that this isn't already a comic.
I mean, it's absolutely, the idea is right there. I mean, I have to imagine right now Tom King's listening to this, just sobbing into his pillow that he didn't do it.
Yeah, I can't believe we beat him to it.
Yeah, maybe that's what all these books are leading up to. I don't know, but
that's what it seems like.
You could just call it the death of the DC universe.
Yeah, actually, and like you could come up with like taglines like "The real crisis is living."
Ooh, I can't do better than this, Joe. This is why you're the master right here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
God, so I don't know. I nothing I say is going to be anywhere remotely close to the masterclass you just laid out. This is your new City of Bruce.
I hope so.
I think it's perfect. I kind of want to commission. We should get an artist to do this. Like, who's somebody who's kind of jaded, who doesn't want anything to do with DC anymore and wouldn't mind torching their career?
Actually, Kevin McGuire.
Kevin McGuire. Kevin McGuire would make it too happy, though.
But you need that juxtaposition. That's
true. Ooh, so maybe you get two artists here, and I'm not usually a fan of that. But you get the dream world, and you get the the real life world. So you get like Kevin McGuire to do the dream world, and your kind of gritty, sad, pathetic, awful world could be illustrated by
Steve Skarosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He'd be good at that. He'd do it. Yeah. He could really hone in on some of that terror.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's dot.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, we should wrap it here. Because that's the mic drop.
I understand. I think that's a good place to end it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Well, let's see what the viewers think. What's your idea to destroy what people love and appreciate in comics? Let us know in the comments below.
Yes, thank you so much. And we know that it's an imaginary story, but aren't they all?